Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening and or watching Kicking It with Kay and Clay. I am your girl, Kay Marie, and thanks once again for joining us this week. This week will not disappoint. You know, we always come with some great topics and some great people. I really like what I'm doing. You know, I started this early February, and I really like it. You know, I come across and I meet some great people. And I said it before and I'm going to say it again. I'm the type of person that believes that every single person has a story and everybody is here for a reason. Because that you're here on this earth is proof that you are here for a reason. And I just like to hear people's stories, and I like to bring different issues and topics to everyone. And we would like to celebrate because we hit 1,000 downloads, and that's a milestone for us. And we're just going to keep going and going. And we're going to get started. So today's guest, I love the docuseries, I should say, on OWN called Black Love. If you have not watched it, you need to watch it. They talk about some great issues concerning people who are married, different trials and tribulations that they've overcome. And it's mainly like celebrities that they interview. And it's a really good series. And on Facebook, Black Love on their page, they have where you can people write articles. So I saw this one particular article and I read it because it caught my eye. And after I read it, I said, you know what? I have got to have her on the show. So I reached out to her. Usually that's what I do. You know, if I see something or read something that's interesting, I want to know more about it, I reach out to the person and, you know, they can decide if they want to come on or not. And I'm glad that she did. So our next guest is a wife. She's a mother. She is a writer. She has her own blog. And again, she did a feature article on blacklove.com. And I really want to hear what she has to say. And I think that she would have a lot to say to everyone that's listening. For those who are single and you want to be married, for those who are dating and you know that's your end goal, those who are engaged, those who are newlyweds, and like I said on Instagram, those who are OGs in this marriage game, you know. So it's nice to hear words of wisdom for people that is actually in it. And our next guest is going to we're going to talk about like just tuning up your marriage and what that entails, because we know that people get their car serviced, you know, so they can maintain their cars because we want to keep it going for as long as we can, right? So regular tune-ups, oil changes are necessary, and it's necessary to tune up any area in your marriage as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So please help me welcome Shanice Cook to the show. Hi, Shanice. Hi. Thank you so much again for coming on and accepting my invitation. And we're, you know, to talk about some marriage stuff.
Not a problem at all. Marriage is one of my favorite topics to discuss. So I was honored that you reached out and wanted to talk a bit more with me about it.
Yeah, that's what's up. So just before we get started, just give us just a little background on Shanice.
All right, a little background on Shanice. How do I do this? Every time I introduce myself to somebody, I'm like, the short version or the long version?
Right. This whatever, this flow.
Okay, so I'm originally from New Jersey, up north. Love it, right? But I went to college in Baltimore, so that brought me to the Maryland area. And I moved down here. That was in 2003. So I've almost been in Maryland for as long as I was in New Jersey.
Okay.
I met my husband in college, and he was in a fraternity and I was in a sorority.
And what college was that?
We went to Morgan State University.
Hey, HB. Even though I always wish I could have gone to one, but you know, I'm an honorary I feel, member of an HBCU.
We will take you. We will take you. I remember in high school, I went to a really diverse high school, and I remember telling people where I was going, and people being like, well, why would you do that? Why would you want to go to an HBCU? And, you know, their big thing was, well, the world doesn't look like that. I understand what the world looks like, and that's exactly why I want to go to a HBCU.
Right.
So I went to Morgan, met my husband. I actually really love the Maryland area. Like I said, I love being from New Jersey, but I love living in the DMV. It's a lot to do for people our age, a lot of fun, a lot of networking. It's just been a really good experience for me. And then I got my master's degree from Bowie State University, another HBCU. Yes. So today I am an HR professional for the federal government. And then by night, like you said, I am a wife. We've been married 7 years. We have 2 boys. Saxon is 5. Sion is 4 months. Yes. And I love being a wife, love being a mom. And then on the side, I like to write, I like to blog, I like to talk, I like to drink my red wine, girl. I like to
talk. Girl, yes. Okay, what's your favorite red?
Ooh, I love a good Malbec. However, for my anniversary, my husband got me this wine called Austin Hope. If you are able to find it, so it's a Cabernet.
Okay.
If you are able to find it, do yourself a favor and try it. It is so good. It is so smooth. I know some people like really sweet wines, and I'm not. You like sweet wine? So the Austin Hope would be a really good, like, it's not really sweet, but it's a really good, like, tiptoe over to the. Okay. I think anybody would like it. Super smooth.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try that then.
Right, girl.
Okay, so you said that you guys been married for 7 years.
Yes.
Okay. So take us back to the beginning of that. How did that look? You know, you guys, you met in college. You know, you dated. How long did you date for?
We dated for 9 years before we got married.
Okay. So when you dated, were you guys freshmen? Were you sophomores?
Yeah. Okay. So when I met Steve, his name is Steven, that's my husband. I met him at the end of my first semester in college, but we really didn't start like kicking it and hanging out until second semester. So I was 18, getting ready to turn 19. We actually were together for my 19th birthday, and he's a year older than me. So he was 19, getting ready to turn 20. So that was fun. It was difficult. Let me say that. Because a lot of people hear you married your your college sweetheart, and they're like, oh, that's so sweet. I wish I did that. And I want you to just think about yourself at 18 and 19 years old, and think about some of the boys, not men, that you knew at 18 and 19 years old.
Right. And they're still boys.
They are still boys. And then imagine trying to make it work. I think with Steve, though, and I tell anybody, like, his heart was so good. Even at 19 years old, I could tell that he had a really good heart. He had a really good foundation. Like, one of the first things that he did, he took me to church. And when he took me to church, again, I think we might have been at this time 1920. But he took me to his home church that he grew up in. I met his grandmother. Like, most boys are not going to do that if they're not serious. Or trying to be what they think is serious at that age. And so there were things that made me realize, even at 19 years old, like, okay, this guy has a good head on his shoulders. He's not perfect. Neither am I.
So we're not perfect.
Nobody is perfect. And so, like I said, people automatically assume like, oh, it was just so amazing. You married your college sweetheart, but we had to grow. And I also had to be very vocal about what I wanted in a partner, not even thinking husband, wife at that time. But, and I kind of shared with you a little bit when we were talking, I grew up, my mom was not married to my dad. And so we lived with my grandparents for a little bit. And I watched my grandfather really take care. So my family's Jamaican. So he's an old Jamaican man, and he worked hard, always had 2 jobs. And grandma, they were going on vacation every year, and like elaborate vacations. And she didn't have to ask for much. And so I got to see that example as a kid. And so my mom did get married and had 2 other kids, my sister and my brother. But prior to that, it was just me for 10 years.
Okay.
And so they overcompensated. I got a lot. Anything I asked for, my grandfather would be like, She wants it. She could have it. It's hers, right?
Right.
So when at 18, 19 years old, Steve and I always laugh at this. He would take me on dates and I'd be like, I wouldn't even ask what money he had in the bank. It was just, to me, I get what I want, right? So even though we met as kids, I still had a very high standard as a girlfriend at that time. You know what I mean? So
yes.
Now that I'm 35, I just turned 35 last week, but now that I'm 35.
Happy belated.
Thank you. Now that I'm 35, it's not, I don't want the same thing that I wanted as a 19-year-old.
Right.
But it's not off-putting when I want nice things or I expect a certain level of treatment. Because at 19, I still expected you to hold my door. I still expected you to, treat me well, whatever that looked like at 19. Now at 35, it looks a little different.
Yes.
But, I wasn't settling. And I know that's a whole topic that we could get into.
Right.
Us as women will be like, oh, that's okay. This is okay. Or I don't need that. And I don't need this. And you're only hurting yourself. Because once it becomes a serious situation, that man can look at you and say, well, who is this woman? Because when we started dating, anything went. You were okay with this. You were okay with that. So
and now you want to switch it up.
You want to switch it up.
Right.
Do yourself a favor, ladies. Do not try to switch it up 2 years later, because then you're going to be the one that's unhappy because he's not fulfilling the needs that you knew you had and you kind of suppressed. You asked me what it looked like when we were young. So, that's kind of what it looked like. We dated for 9 years. He proposed at my graduation from grad school. It was perfect. My grandparents were there. My great-grandmother was there. My mom, my sister, my brother, his mom. So we were at dinner. He proposed. Everything was great. I said yes. And then, so we were engaged for 13 months. And then we got married June 15th, 2013. And like I said, it has not been easy. Marriage is work. I don't care who you are. If you're not working, then I would venture to say that you're not in a thriving marriage. Because anything worth having, you gotta work for it.
Yeah, so, I totally agree.
I totally believe in that. And so we've been married for 7 years. We've been knowing each other for 16 years, which sounds crazy because I look at him and I'm like, I don't even feel old enough to know you for that long. So so that's kind of what it looked like before we got married. And he was also like, we didn't live together before we got married. We did spend the night with each other, but like move in. We didn't do that officially. Well, we didn't have like a move-in date, but after he proposed, it was just like a gradual.
Okay.
And then we lived together after that.
Okay.
The marriage counselor and our pastor was like, I see y'all have the same address on here. I'm like, we're going to separate a little bit.
Right, because they sure will bring that up.
Listen.
And rightfully so, whatever, so hey.
Yeah. I appreciated it. I didn't want any sugarcoating.
That's good.
Give it to us. What are we in for? And so it worked for us. And that was our first time going through any kind of counseling together. I would highly recommend marital counseling for any couple thinking about getting married because they ask questions that, number one, you might not think to ask. Number two, you might be scared to ask. And there's a third party there to kind of get you guys to see each other perspective. So I would absolutely recommend marriage counseling. Not that you asked me, but
no, I agree because with Clay, because we've been on each other since we were 15 in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was like he was my best male friend, and in school. And so just one day, because we always talked on the phone, he had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend. I wasn't even, we weren't even thinking anything like that until one day in 12th grade, I was like, I think I like him. And then like one of my friends, she was like, you should go tell them how you feel. I was never that person because I'm like, I don't tell nobody how I feel. Right. So, but I did that same day, and we dated, we stopped, we reconnected like back in, when we were like 32.
Okay.
Stopped. And then, but like during the time that we were planning on getting married before, but there's some stuff happened, and it's like no, like 5 months before the wedding date, so we both like this, like nah. So
For that though, that takes a lot of courage.
it does. It really it does. And like it was a 6 year gap. I was doing my thing, he was doing his thing, and I think that really helped. That time apart helped us tremendously because he had to grow in some stuff, I had to grow in some stuff, and like now it's just like our relationship is really it's better than before. It's just great.
That's amazing.
And you mentioned how you and you live with your grandparents, with your mom, your single mother. Pretty much the same thing with me. My mother, it's me and my mother, my brother. We had moved out to California, San Diego, stayed for a while.
Okay.
Came back to Detroit with my grandparents. We lived there for about a good 7 years. And while I was there, because my grandparents, up until my grandfather's passing, they've been together for like 50 years plus.
Same.
And one thing that I saw, because we grabbed some nuggets, like you said, you saw some things with your grandparents, and like what I really saw with mine, and it really stuck with me. My grandmother could be so mad at my granddaddy was like really chill. My grandmother was like the more hype one. So when they're in arguing, mainly it was my grandmother arguing, but he just she still cooked for him. She still brought his plate to him while she fussing. She still was serving her man. Some people, people might think like, but that's what I like. I want to serve my man because he served me till we both serve each other. It's not one-sided.
Right.
Right. So yeah, even if people out there who are listening or watching, you might think, well, I don't have any examples. That's fine. You can not have any examples or immediate examples in your life, but if it's somebody that you've seen, your aunt, uncle who had a good marriage, or grandparents or whatever, you're not doomed to have a bad marriage.
And always just be willing to learn. I know there's a difference, right? So like nowadays we have social media, which they didn't have back in the day. So there's a difference between like idolizing a couple on social media and then really gleaming from other couples like, oh, that's nice, or that went well. Stephen and myself, we lead the marriage ministry at our church. But prior to that, we just were attending marriage ministry. And what I loved about that was people would say things, you go around the circle and everybody shares, and you have couples that have been married 40 plus years and couples that got married 20 days ago. And then you have everybody in between. But there's always something that somebody shares. It's like, wow, I never thought of it that way. It's like the little things. Like you said, you like serving your man and he serves you too. That's the mentality that we have to have. Not so much as so like, well, I ain't serving nobody. I'm an independent woman.
Right.
2 hands. Yeah, but I can be single for that. Like,
exactly.
We're going to do this together. Instead of keeping track of how much he's going to serve me, I should be keeping track of how much I'm going to serve him. And he should be keeping track of how much he's going to serve me. And then that way we're getting served. You never feel like depleted. And if you do feel depleted, then that's when you have to come to the table and have the conversation.
See, yes, you know what, you are right, because when we went through like a marriage counseling at the church before, but we're gonna go still get it this time around too. But one thing that they said is you should be trying to outserve one another.
That's it. That's
like you said, not trying to like, well, I did that for you last week. You should.
Right. Keeping the tally like, all right, well, this week you get one. No.
Right. So one thing that I read, because like I reread your article, and just go ahead and just, how did that come about anyway? How did they contact you to write an article?
Okay.
And tell people what the article's about.
Okay. So, HBCU connection, right? So somebody that I went to college with had reached out to me, and blacklove.com, the website, they were doing a series on HBCU love, basically. So couples who are now married who met at HBCUs. So by the time I was pregnant, I was working full time, I had a lot going on. So by the time I got back to her, she had already had somebody from my school. So she was like, okay, so I already have somebody from your school, but just talking to you, I'm really interested. The same way you said, like,
right.
Oh, I like what you said about, the tune-up.
Yes.
Was basically the same thing she said.
Really?
One of their editors, and we were just talking. So before they ask you to write anything, they kind of want to get to know you a little bit as a couple. So they're like, tell me your story. And so I told her my story, and what stood out to her was, you're not the same people. You've been dating for a long time, and you talk about this tune-up. Can you write about that? So I've had a blog for when we got married. So it's about 7 years I've had a blog, and I go in and out of it depending on what's going on with life.
And ladies and gentlemen, for those who are listening only, you can find her blog. It's purposefully nicey.com. So that's the blog that she is referring to.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I have that. And so writing about marriage wasn't foreign to me because I kind of write about it somewhat there. And just giving my perspective, like I said, I talk a lot about marriage. We actually host a marriage retreat this year. We didn't do it because of COVID.
Yeah.
But, and how that came about was, it was something I was looking for he and I to attend. And it wasn't something that I could find for a reasonable amount. Like there were some marriage retreats that you could find, but they want you to go to the Four Seasons, and then you need to go to Arizona. And like, by the time who is every year you want me to spend up to $5,000 on a marriage retreat? Like,
that's and then y'all fighting about that, the finances.
So I was like, okay, I'm looking for this thing. I don't see, and I wasn't really necessarily saying it needed to be young couples, but of course you're attracted to what you are. So I was looking for something reasonable, maybe something we could drive to. Long story short, I feel like God was just like, you do it, girl. So,
right. So it's just usually how it ends up.
Yeah. So we started doing marriage retreats, and really it's been a blessing. We have a married couple who's pretty seasoned. The husband is a pastor. The wife, she's an amazing teacher, and they come and they've done sessions with the different couples. And so just my heart for marriage has always been there. So I wrote the article, I gave it back to blacklove.com. They put their edits on it and they posted it, and the rest is history. Yeah,
it's a good article, you guys. Let them know I don't want to mess up the title. I know what it is, but I don't want to.
So the title is basically "The Grass is Greener Where You Water It," and I'm a huge proponent of that, y'all. Like, people who you admire from afar, if you're blessed enough to be led into their life, or maybe you don't want to be led into their life, you never know. You'll always find out that there are things in their yard that you could not tend to in your own yard. And so if you keep your eyes on your own yard and you focus on your own yard and you just try to manifest and work on the things that you want, your grass will be greener. Like I always make the joke, you don't know if that grass is spray painted. It could be fake grass. You don't know, because you don't know, number one, what it took for them to get that grass. You didn't know if they had the egg bars there to get that grass. And you don't know if it's fake. A lot of people can put on a happy face out in public on social media, but what's really going on behind the scenes? And my thing is, to keep your grass green, and I kind of talk about this in the article, you have to tend to it. You have to do things. You have to date each other. You have to go back to where it all started. You started off having fun. So who wants to be married and you're only passing each other by, oh, what's for dinner? What's the kids doing today? What's the a non-negotiable for us in the Cook household? We going on vacation for our anniversary. That has been a thing, unless I have been pregnant and then this year COVID. But typically, no kids, nobody else, me and my husband, and we're locking in a place where we're not talking about the bills, we're not talking about school, we're not talking about anything outside of let's just have a good time, let's date each other every day. The things that we were doing when we first, you have to reconnect. If you don't reconnect, you're going to end up not even like, I don't want to say butting heads, but you will realize, like, is this my husband or just my friend? Now, you want your husband to
or
be
a roommate. Yeah.
or your roommate. But where is the romance? Like, that's the fun part, right? Like, that's what drew you to each other. Your friendship first, and the romance took over somewhere. And you don't want to lose that, because kids grow up, kids move out, they get their own girlfriends and boyfriends, and then you'll be looking at your spouse like, who are you?
Right.
To you. And you said something else that I said in the article, and I say it all the time to people, married couples. Would you buy a new car and not ever take it for an oil change, and not ever get it tuned up, not ever get it serviced? You would never, right? Because you care about that car. So you should care about your marriage far more than you care about a car, right? So those tune-ups, those are check-ins, date nights, vacations. There's numerous things you can do. Like, and I have another friend, she's been married for the same amount of time as me, but she's married to a high school sweetheart.
Okay.
And this was a while ago, and she said to me, what do y'all even talk about anymore? Like, y'all have been married for so long. What's new? Like, what are you talking about if you're not talking about what happened at work? Like the surface stuff, right? And that's a good question. Like, if you don't have anything to talk about, there's so many things now, like conversation starters. There are apps on your phone that you can download that will prompt you to add, and then you'll be surprised. You can start at one conversation or one question. That one question could lead you the whole night. You could take that conversation, and that'll be a whole night of conversation for you.
I like that. So as part of, because we were saying that, you know, the title of this show is Lord have mercy. Lord. I had so many, like when I was trying to figure out. So you get your car maintenance and service. So why not your marriage? And so you suggest, and I like that, it's people who's been together for a long time, right?
Yep.
Like your friend, she said, like, what do you even talk about anymore? So you suggest that people who are maybe in that type of rut to maybe like Google some things, and there's an apps to help start conversations.
Gary Chapman, the one who wrote 5 Love Languages, he also has books of conversation starters. So we went to his conference, I think that was last year, and we bought the conversation starter book. There's that. I mean, I have an app downloaded on my phone that literally, I think it's called Anatomy of Marriage. I'm pretty sure it's Anatomy of Marriage. Okay. And you can set reminders down to like, hey, initiate sex today. Hey, ask your husband like how you can help him today. And it doesn't go to him, it goes to you. And then you look like you're the thoughtful one. Sometimes we need those reminders, right? Because I'm like, I gotta go to the grocery store, I gotta cook dinner, he needs lunch tomorrow. But when my phone goes off and it's like, ask your husband what he needs from you today.
I like that.
Those check-ins with him, and it's like, oh, she thought about me, and all the other things that she's doing, she stopped to think about me. And that could go a long way, because think about how it would make you feel if your spouse did that for you. And another thing that I've heard, and I get a lot of the stuff from reading, podcasts like this one, YouTube. You just have to be willing to learn and realize that you don't know it all. So
it's true.
By reading and listening, that's how I find the app. That's how I find books, you know, like feeding yourself things. And what they say is you can't change anybody else but yourself. So if you want your spouse to do something, how about you start doing it? And you start being thoughtful. And then I can guarantee, unless they have checked out and y'all might need to see like a counselor or something like that, but I guarantee if you start being thoughtful, your spouse will start being thoughtful too.
It's good.
It's a win-win.
That's good. So like some other tune up ideas. So you're saying that, because I know I've heard at my old church, you know, they had like marriage conferences, and you know, they said that the singles can come too, which is good.
Yeah.
Because again, when you want to get all the information you can before you take this leap, because it's a major one. Because you know, most people, they want to go in it doing it one time. You know, and I know people don't, you know, go into a marriage thinking about divorce, but you know, I just want to do it one time and that's it.
one time and one time only.
Right. One and done. Okay. So so during that marriage conference, I remember the guy because he was saying that he didn't know how, he wasn't romantic. He never knew how to be romantic. He said that's something he had to learn.
Yeah.
He said he looked up ways, he researched ways, and he had to know his wife because not every woman is the same. Every woman is different.
Yeah.
So you have to know your woman.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that he said that you touched on was, have weekly date nights and he also said, just have a weekend like in your same state where it's just the two of you and then like have like a nice vacation.
Mm-hmm. So weekly date night. So it's easier to do that when you don't have kids. When Steve and I first got married, date night was Monday. Okay. We get off work. Mondays are usually hard, right? We made Monday something to look forward to by making that our date night. That was easy. Then we had one kid and it was like, okay, maybe we could do this bi-weekly or monthly.
Okay.
As he got older, it was so because his mom lives in the same state as us. So it's easy for us easier with one kid to get a sitter. And now we have a baby. And what I find is you could get so lost in that baby that it's like a date night. What is that? But when you and your spouse are in tune, it makes everything go smoother. The house runs smoother. Attitudes are kept at bay. Like, so we, even with the baby being small, like he was born in April and for our anniversary, we still went out, so it's like you have to make it a priority. And even with COVID and certain things, you may not feel safe. At nighttime, once we get the kids down, even if the baby's up for a long time, let's say he doesn't go down, and I'm not even exaggerating, until maybe 11 or 12, we'll legit go out back by the fire pit. I would rather be asleep because he's young. So I'd rather sleep. But there's never been a time when I've decided to invest in my marriage by staying up another 2 hours that I didn't absolutely praise myself for it. Like I would much rather connect with my husband and be a little bit more tired in the morning than, we look up and it's 2 months and we haven't had a chance by ourselves, no kids, no friends, nobody else to just be like, babe, how are you? Like, in our marriage ministry, we learned early, I think it was our first year, and they were like, take the temperature. If it's hard for you to kind of vocalize or put into words how you're really feeling, like what kind of day are you having? Is it a sunny day? Is it a little cloudy? Is it raining? Is it a thunderstorm? Like, how are you feeling? Can you put your emotions into that kind of status? And then let's try to figure it out. Well, why do you feel like it's a little cloudy? Are you missing this? Are you missing that? How can I help you make it sunny? There's a lot of really cool ways to check in with your spouse because I know men will say, oh, I'm not really a talker.
Right.
I'm not that expressive. Well, who can't come up with a weather, a weather, so, and it's really helpful. And so things to tune in, sitting outside, sitting in the car. So another thing that people have recommended to us, and I think it's amazing to do, is to have like a marriage or a married mentor couple. Okay. That is older than you, usually in age and definitely in marriage, that you trust, that you can talk to, that they're not going to talk about you, but they're going to pray with you for whatever it is you're going through. So this is a couple who's been there, done that, probably seen a whole lot. Not your mom, not your dad, not people who are going to take sides. Right. Or want the best for Shanice or the best for Steve, but the best for the Cooks, right? Like their goal is to keep our marriage together and healthy and happy. And so that couple, they always tell us like they live well now, but back when they couldn't afford date nights, they would go get ice cream, sit on the back of their truck, look at the stars, and eat ice cream together. And that's
and a lot of people, you hear like people who are, they started off like that and they, been very blessed. They said that they have more fun in those beginning, when they didn't have that much, because, you have to think of ways, you have to be creative. So sometimes, like you said, it's good to go like this back to the basics,
Where it all began, like the nice things are nice. I'm not going to say
it's
not nice to go out and have a great dinner and a glass of wine. I'm not even going to play you. Right. The simple things are nice too. Like just us, just, let's take it back to 19-year-old, 20-year-old Shanice and Steve and how we used to just laugh. Like, we legit, and he always says this is how he kind of knew I was the one. We would stay up till the sun came up, just talking, right? So don't lose that, because when you stop talking, you stop communicating, you start shutting each other out. That's how things can go under the radar, and people will be like, well, man, how did they separate? How did they get divorced? You let one day turn into 1 week, turn into 1 month, turn into 6 months. Next thing you know, you haven't had a real conversation with your spouse in a year, and it's like, I could live with or without you. And you never want to get to that point. You want to know that if you were to leave my life, I would feel that. There would be a void in my life,
So what do you say to couples who they might be in that space right now? Say they've been married, for several years now, and like their kids might be out the house now, and say they're working all the time. They hardly see each other. Or what do you suggest that they do to get back and to tune up their marriage?
Get away. And I'm not saying like you got to get on a plane and have an elaborate vacation, but get away, turn your phones off, no social media, no friends. Tune into your spouse, and both spouses have to be willing to do it. You can't fight by yourself, right?
Right.
So get away. Tune into each other, as in put the phones down. Because me talking to you and you're on your cell phone, that we're not tuned in.
Right.
Me talking to you and you're watching the game, you're not tuned in. I mean, all distractions aside, even for people who have kids in the house, if you have a trusted parent, friend, godparent, anybody who you can trust to keep your kid for maybe 2 days, do a staycation. Stay somewhere close, 30 minutes, 45 minutes away. And when I tell you that investment will not return void, I mean, there's people just back to the marriage retreat really quick. The wives are always super excited, right? Like, ooh,
right.
We're going to have this time together.
Right.
Wives are like, I don't know why I'm here. She told me I needed to be here. I don't know what's going on. And every single time we've done 3 or 4. And every single time there are husbands who come up to me like, thank you. I didn't know that we needed this. I didn't know what I was coming to. But this time, away from the kids, away from the parents, away from the friends, to just tune in to each other has been what we needed, or what we've been missing. Because sometimes even when you go out to dinner, people are on their phones. People are... The bar is right there. So you're watching the game on the TV. But when you're in a room and the person talking, facilitating, is telling you to put your knees to knee to knee with your spouse, look in your spouse's eyes. 5 things you love about your spouse. That's a real deep connection, a tune-in. I'm not listening to anything. I'm not focused on anything but what you're telling me. When you go into those situations and it's like, okay, I'm going to make you one promise for this year, and it's going to be XYZ. Those are connecting moments. Those are tune-in moments. Who doesn't want to feel like this person loves me enough to promise me this one thing for this year? This person loves me, or here it is, you haven't complimented me. Some people just don't know that words of affirmation is their spouse's love language, so they don't compliment. But if I'm telling you as a facilitator, tell your spouse, tell your husband, tell your wife 5 things you love about them. That person whose love language is words of affirmation, their bucket is overflowing, not just filled to the top. You could ask them for anything at that point. And if they have to give, they're going to give it. So, I mean, I just think no matter how long it's been, if the love is there, if the desire is there to improve it, nothing like one-on-one time together to connect. I mean, it's so cliche, date night, but it's so real. Like, don't let it go. And even like I said, if you don't leave your house, you're just sitting outside, you go in the basement, you turn on a movie, you have dinner together, and I mean like dinner together, not you sitting here and I'm walking around, and like we sit down, we pray, we eat our meal together, we talk over our meal. There's nothing more fulfilling than one-on-one, like in tune with each other. And the best way to do it is to go away. Your friends will know you're away, so they're not bothering you.
Right.
Your parents. And just real quick on that, I'm super close with my mom. And one thing my pastor told us when we were in marriage counseling was, hey, know you love your mom. You can love your mom. That could be your bestie, but she's not in your marriage.
Yeah.
And I had to learn, hey, like, number one, she's my mom. She's always been an influencer in my life. So she might be influencing me on things that she shouldn't.
Right.
To, or not because I want to, but that's the relationship we've had for my whole life. So if she makes a certain comment, or she's like, you know, well, when I was your age, this is what I did, or this is how I would do that, you might find yourself acting those things out, but it's not fruitful to your relationship or your marriage, you know? So you have to know when, and then your family, your mom is always going to side with you.
Right.
Always going to side with you. So if something's wrong, and you go and you vent and you're saying this happened, blah, blah, blah. Tomorrow, he could walk in with flowers and chocolates and send me to the spa. But my mom didn't go to the spa. She didn't get
right. She's still side eyeing him. Right.
Right. And then I'm like, well, you know, so you have to, that was a lesson, right? Like, and we laugh, me and my mom laugh about it because she like, I realize now you don't tell me as much as you do. But she gets it. She's married and she understands, like, hey, and she also told me, you got to do what's best for you in your marriage because your husband's not my husband. So you can't act the way I act in my marriage because it's not going to work for you. So, I mean, it's a blessing to be able to connect with your spouse. Kids out the house, no kids, you got to carve that time out. It's literally the lifeline to your marriage.
I can believe that.
I'm telling you.
So what about, also in your article, I was like, yes, this is a good point. You say, like, you know, when you're married, you know, don't hang around a lot your single friends, those who are, you know, geeked about their divorce, you know, and so expound on that and how, if you do hang around, you know, those people, how that can hinder or hurt.
Yeah. So it's really all about discernment, right? Like I have a lot of married friends, but I also have like one of my best girlfriends is single, but she's very respectful of my marriage. She knows my husband. She's around my children. And she lives a life that I'm okay with being around, right? So when I say like, you shouldn't be a married person, woman or man, and your single friends are trying to close the club down every weekend, hit the bar, and you are their wingman. No, that's not fruitful. That's not beneficial because being a wingman or a wing woman, it sounds innocent, but it could absolutely turn into more, right? Like you are just holding conversation with somebody. Next thing you know, you're venting to them about something you didn't tell your spouse, and it can just get messy. Like, I don't agree with that. So
yes,
you have to be very careful if those are your close friends. And I'm not saying you dump them because
no,
single, right? But you have to know, like, okay, if this is the lifestyle you're living, more power to you. I'm not here to judge you. Have a great time. Be careful. Live your life. But I'm also not going to be going to the club with you every night, right? Like, I'm not going to be playing wing woman for you in the club. I'm not going to be hanging around strip clubs with you. You know, that's just not fruitful to my marriage. If my husband has to second guess what I'm doing when I'm going out with a certain person, maybe I don't need to be going out with that person as well, right? And then take that chance to maybe influence them in a way, because birds of a feather flock together. Again, another cliche. It's so true. You spend a lot of time around people and you don't even realize the influence that they're having on your life. The way that they might talk to people, you might see yourself using those phrases. I know it's happened to all of us.
Yes, or saying it a certain type of way. Yes,
like that's not even me. Like, where did I get that from? Like, your surroundings. I'm telling you, it is paramount. So when you're hanging around your single friends, again, like what kind of single friends are you hanging around? And like for my husband, I would never want to tell him you can't hang around your friends, because for him, he has a lot more single friends than I do. A lot of my friends are married or in serious relationships. Okay. But for him, I would never say, you know, don't hang around this person. But if you know me, like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm very vocal. And I know, and as I gotten older, it's like, okay, Shanice, you don't want to be a nag. There's legit a verse in the Bible about not being a nagging wife.
Yeah, a rooftop woman, yes.
It is better to live in the corner of a roof than to live with a nagging wife. So I try not to be a nag, but at the same time, nobody is a mind reader. So if I don't tell you that this bothers me, I can't hold you to the cross for that. If I don't tell you that this is a deal breaker for me, I can't expect. And it goes both ways, right? Like
it does.
And be like, well, he doesn't bring me flowers and he doesn't, do that. Well, have you ever told him that you like those things? I know you don't want to prompt him every time, like, hey, today's a good day to get me flowers.
Right.
But you can drop hints like, this is what I like. This is what makes me smile. This is what makes me feel good. And so he can have that in the back of his mind. Oh, I can do these things for her. Same way it goes with not doing things that you don't like. Hey, staying out till 2 a.m. and not checking in, or I don't know where you are, is unacceptable for me. So don't even think that that's something that you can do. And then we're on the term. This is not going to work. And it shouldn't be a surprise when it doesn't work for you. So, we're not gonna be doing that. So when you want to see your single friends, that's fine. But they're not married. Just like you would tell your kids, I'm not such and such mother, I'm your mother. I'm not such and such girlfriend, I'm your wife. And this is what's gonna work and this is what's not gonna work. I don't really believe in like, oh, maybe you'll get the hint. No. I'm gonna tell you this is what's gonna work, this is what's not gonna work. So then that way, when you do it or you don't do it, you know where I stand.
I'm laughing so hard because I'm the same way. This not gonna fly with me. Just so you know. Yeah, you do, because they're not mind readers, and so you have to voice. You have to be vocal about certain things, and
it's unfair to them, right? Because and then we'll get an attitude, or we'll go into silent treatment, and they're like, "Well, what's the matter with her? She never even said blah 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 blah." And on the flip side, I met somebody who legit let their boyfriend do whatever they wanted to do because they wanted to please them. But you're only hurting yourself. You're pleasing them for what? The end goal is to be with them forever, and then you want to be with somebody forever who's going to do whatever they want?
Right? No,
that's not
no, boo, no.
That is not gonna work for me. So
now
I'm not even. Don't try to catfish and be like, oh, everything goes, and then you propose, and I turn into a whole different. Nope, don't propose if these are the things that you can't hold up.
Right? Exactly. See, and I'm a strong believer in show people. Whoever you're dating, show them who you are. Like, don't switch it up. Like, with me always been, what you see is what you get. Now, if I change, it's going to be for the better.
That part.
So. And not if I change, when I change. Because I have. We grow.
Absolutely. If I was the same person he met at 19 that I am at 35, then that would be a problem. There would be something wrong with me. So, but for the better.
Okay, so all right. So those of you again who are, you're watching or you're listening on one of the streaming platforms, we're talking about just having regular tune-ups in your marriage. So would you suggest like, even if everything could be fine, you still go to retreats and you still do things for tune-ups, because again, just like a car, you could have a brand new car, you still have to get oil change, you still have to get, a tune-up. So
I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people think, oh, we'll only go to counseling if we hit a bump or if there's something wrong, or we'll only go to a retreat if we really, need to connect. We haven't connected in 3 years. Well, like, it's so much easier to keep your regular maintenance up. Like, if you drive your car for a year with no maintenance, no oil change is going to completely break down. You're probably going to need a new engine. You can fix it, but why would you want to spend the money to get a brand new engine, your transmission, right? Like, that just seems like so much work to do. You might as well get a new car. It's the same thing with your marriage. Yeah, you can go to counseling when there's an issue. You can try to, do a retreat when there's an issue. But by the time you get through all the issues and the problems and the ice that's built up around one or both of your hearts, that's just a little bit, versus like, this is something we do often. Like I said, we went to Gary Chapman. He travels with his retreat. So we did that too. Like, it's just a one-day thing, but there are things there. Stand up, look your spouse in the eye, tell your spouse this, write something down, write some things that you like about your spouse. Those things, doing that routinely, even if there are some issues that come up, because nobody's perfect, no marriage is perfect. Right. it's not going to be like trying to dig a hole, like throw all the dirt out, because we've been doing
Right.
it routinely. And so, absolutely. I think that if you wait until there's an issue, the likelihood that one retreat or one counseling session is going to fix it, probably not. It's going to take a lot more work to fix something versus just, and it's fun. Like I said, like the guys going in are probably like, well, we're fine. We're good. We still have sex regularly.
Right.
Go on dates, so why do we need to go on this retreat? Because life is life. Even if you don't have kids, there's bills, there's work, there are draining
life. It's life.
It's life. There are many days where you're tired and you might not have a conversation with your spouse. So by the time you get everything you need to get done and get yourself in bed, you're exhausted. So there's plenty of times where it's not like, all right, babe, let's sit down and talk about how great are they. Every day doesn't go like that. So even if things are great in your marriage, newlyweds, I would suggest that you still go to a conference, a retreat. One of our marriage mentor couple, they recommended, I'm probably going to butcher this because I don't remember it, but you should be checking in with your spouse like weekly, right? And then you should be retreating with your spouse at least like bi-monthly, not bi-monthly, but like maybe every 6 months.
Okay.
Here, you should be vacationing with your spouse. And even if you don't have the money to go on a grand vacation, get a hotel, 2 days, take a long weekend, get away with your spouse. So you should be doing those check-ins regularly just to make sure we still got this. We still like each other. We still love each other. Like something I heard with this pandemic, people are getting divorced.
I know.
I don't like who they married to.
I thought that, I was like, whoa. I'm like, and they can't like wait to just get out.
They don't.
That's crazy.
But you know why they could live with it before the pandemic? There's so many distractions.
Yeah.
I could go to the bar. I could go bowling. I could go out with my girls. And then by the time I get home, we don't really have to talk, right? Because now it's late or I've worked late or whatever people do to distract themselves from being in the house. But when everything is legit shut down, I'm working from home. I'm eating at home. Everything's at home and you're here with me. If I don't like you, that's going to rear its head real quick.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
I was just sitting like, I'm just taking notes. This again, this for those who, on their way to be married or you're married. This is some good stuff. This is some good wisdom. Before we wrap up, though, your retreats. If somebody listening, because I know I'm interested, when that time comes. So I know everything shut down with COVID.
Yeah.
So where is it generally held, and like around what's the average price points for the retreat and how many days? So just give us some information about that.
Yeah. So the retreat, the last few years we've had them at different resorts. So one year we did it in Pennsylvania. Last year it was actually in Virginia by Williamsburg.
Okay.
Another year we did it kind of like right outside of Ocean City. So we go to different places and I try to make it drivable places for people in the area close to us. But we've had a couple last year fly out from Indianapolis and they enjoyed it. So that's usually the weekend. We check in Friday night. We do a group activity so that all the couples can kind of get to know each other. We get to eat together, fellowship together, have fun together. So that Saturday, once we get into session, you feel comfortable. Like it's a safe space. You don't feel like you're kind of talking about certain things in front of strangers because the night before we played cards or we went bowling. Right. So we kind of break the ice Friday night, and then Saturday night we we do sessions, and then we break Saturday night, and typically we'll let the couples have their individual date nights, and that's for you to plan. But the couples, which I love, have loved each other so much, even the couples that had never met each other, that they were like, okay, so after date night, can we get back together? Like, I want to get back with the whole group, which I love, because stay close to that kind of fire. Stay close to people who are living a life similar to what you live or similar to what you want to live, right? Going back to like being around a lot of single people or people who are getting divorced. If you're around that, you might be like, they having a good time by themselves. I could do bad by myself. I don't need this.
Right.
You're around other married couples who are thriving and having fun together, it's really contagious. You'll see couples who be like, we don't even usually hold hands, start holding hands and kissing, and like that stuff is contagious. So I love that. And then Sunday, we close out, we break bread together again. And we typically have the couples like just have some little alone time, make a promise to each other. What are you going to take from this weekend into everyday life? And I mean, I've gotten nothing but like, we didn't know we needed this. This was a big thing. It was just the reset or the refresh that we needed. So for years prior, we've done it in the spring. So we try to keep costs low. You did ask about the cost. We try to do it on off seasons. So you won't ever really see us doing it like in the middle of the summer because hotel prices are more expensive. Yeah. And so we really try to keep the cost down by doing it either like spring, like early spring before vacation time really takes off. Last year, tried fall, and fall was nice. Like it was actually around this time last year, late September actually. And that worked out really well too. So last year for the couple, I think it was like $750 or $800.
Oh, that's not bad.
We tried. Now your travel, your gas, all that stuff of course is on you, but we try to keep the cost as low as possible. The biggest cost is your hotel stay. So we do stay at a hotel Friday to Sunday. That's going to be your biggest cost. And then we do provide meals except for your date night. So your date night you pay for, but we try to provide meals for breakfast and lunch, and all of that will be included in the cost of the retreat. And so we always post the information to our Instagram account, which is One Flesh Marriage. Let me check. I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay. Or when I can post it on. Oh, you looking up? Yeah. So I can. Yeah. So that sounds really. While you're doing that, that sounds really really good, and something that again, like once we jump that broom, that's something that we can get into as well. And those who are listening, you need that tune up in your marriage, whether things are good.
Yeah.
And if you just need to just get back on track.
Yeah. If we weren't doing it, I would have found something like this for us to go to. It's just that good. Like you don't get that time. And then like guys, they don't open up as much. So when you have another guy up there who is like, this is what your wife needs, this is what you give your wife, it just makes it easier. And the next thing you know, the guys are the ones opening up and giving all the compliments. So no,
it takes that one.
No matter the season, and it doesn't have to be ours. I would just suggest a retreat is a marriage retreat. They have been amazing for us.
Okay.
So the page is One Flesh Marriage Ministry. No breaks, no spaces, nothing like that. So
okay, say that one more time.
So one spelled out, Flesh Marriage Ministry.
One Flesh Ministry. All right. And that's on Instagram.
That's on Instagram. So okay. Yep. If you find us there, we don't post there regularly, but once we are in retreat season, you will know that the retreat is coming because it will be all over there.
Like they okay. I see them on my timeline. All right. Or whatever Instagram thing is called,
Yeah. You'll see us posting, and at that point you'll know where it is and the cost associated and all that stuff.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shanice. This was really good. The time flew. I'm like, dang. It always happens. Once you're talking about some good stuff, time always seems to fly. Right. But again, just thank you so much for, just giving us a little snippet of what it takes to have regular tune-ups in your marriage.
It's necessary. Absolutely.
Yep. So again, those who want to look at and go on to Shanice's blog, it's purposefullynicey.com. purposefullynicey.com, and I'll post it on our page, our Instagram page, and I'll post it on our Facebook page. Okay.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Well, I'm glad you have fun. I have fun. I learned some things. I'm like, okay. God, yeah, I was in here. I was like, okay, I'm going to work on that. Okay. So thank you so much. And you guys, we are going to be back next week with our next center stage guest. She is a filmmaker from Detroit. you will enjoy that one as well. So you'll catch us on Facebook. We publish on every Wednesday, Instagram, YouTube, and you can listen to us on any major streaming platform. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. And we are going to see you next week. Bye, everybody. Bye, Nisi. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right.
Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay.